took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial.
I'll keep my freedom, I'll keep my gun, try to keep my money and my religion too. Now keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that. I'm going to keep my big VA, keep my friends the same, keep the government out of my business, and y'all just keep the change.
He is the free American, Clay Douglas.
We know what we need. We know who to blame.
Catch the Free American Hour, weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
I'll keep the USA and y'all can keep the change.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I am your host, Clay Douglas. And my guest today is Dr. Jake Wade of Timothy Bible College and the Way Church. Hello, Jake. How are you?
Good morning, sir. I'm doing pretty well for an old guy.
I heard a rumor about that. You look good at church, and looking forward to seeing you at church tonight.
Amen.
Jake, it's been pretty rough for all concerned. I've got rumors out there that say our economy is about to get a lot better right here, especially in your area of Texas. In your area of Texas here. Seems like you're sitting on a lot of oil here. Did they just find out about that? You've been building these pipelines around the world. The shale oil. Even the New York bankers are talking about the investment potential of the oil down under Dimmitt, Texas, I believe is what they were being specific about. What have you heard?
We've got a Providence Christian Academy Little Red Schoolhouse in Yoakum, Texas, about 45 minutes to an hour from here south. Driving down there, as I do routinely, to check and see how they're doing and that sort of thing, there are all kinds of deep well drillings going on. I counted from the road 6 of them the last time I made that trip. And they're not spending all that money and going that deep. We're talking maybe 12 to 25,000 feet down. They're not doing that, spending all that money, not a private company, without having done the seismics and the flybys with the infrared and all of that. They are pretty well sure they're going to get oil and or gas at that level, and that's why they're doing it. The economy in the local area, of course, to the commoner, to people that just drive out every day and try to do their work and come home and keep a family, is both oppressive and depressive. It's pretty weak. However, I don't know if you saw what I sent on Oklahoma.
I did see something about Oklahoma. I did do that. And Oklahoma's doing a lot as an independent state. Is it doing more than Texas?
They're saying no to a lot of the federal imposition, and if everybody like Texas and all the rest will follow suit, maybe they'll realize they cannot continue their escalation of oppression.
Do you think the elections are going to make any difference at all in the in what's happening or attitude of the governor? I mean, you know, I think we pretty well agree that Obama is not exactly good for our country. You know, or how did Hank Williams Jr. put it? You know, we got a Muslim for a president.
I don't think we can stand another year. But to answer your question, yes, I think the elections will make a difference, and I think for a short period of time, by a relatively misled and somewhat blinded country, we will think that there has been this monumental improvement. And hopefully everybody will relax. It's fixed now, and it won't be. And I think in December you'll see a peak in the economy.
Hold on just a second. Let me get this one going.
Recorded live.
My guest is Dr. Jake Wade, Timothy Bible College, the Little Red Schoolhouse. We're talking about the economy of Texas and some other things here. I just wanted to get this other recording started, Jake, so my apologies.
Okay.
We've these political or these banking, the stock market guys, they've been sending out a bust. Now it could be just hype, you know, trying to keep the investment money flowing, and they've got these wells in these deep shale deposits in both Texas and North Dakota and all that. They think it's going to help us quite a bit. I asked you about this election coming up. I mean, I'm having a hard time seeing exactly how Mitt Romney is going to, who owns Clear Channel and has been controlling our information flow for many years, which is, by the way, folks, why I'm continuing this show, because I think we get good information out on this show, something you can make good decisions with, you know. I mean, we're encouraging you to live smaller, live closer to the best, smaller houses, work in communities, and we're seeing some evidence of that. I saw that in your church, Jake, that these people, you know, all colors are flowing together and working together and talking and actually having a good time.
Pretty good, huh?
I think that's a positive sign, and if the economy is rebounding because of this oil, I mean, I'd say about time, wouldn't you? I mean, haven't we had this oil? This isn't a new discovery, this shale oil. I've been hearing about it for years. I heard Denver had more oil than Saudi Arabia.
Well, Lindsey Williams will tell you that we got enough in Alaska to run this country for 20 years without anything else.
Yes, he's. I believe him too, but they just haven't been tapping it. Why? Because they've been stealing all the money from the American people.
Well, there's a banking cartel that, according to him, put a cap on all the production and made a percentage. I think it was somewhere around 20 or something like that, because they didn't want a shift rapidly in money flow, because they said it would upset their banking control.
Yeah, the banks. Doesn't the Bible talk about that? Don't we talk about that in the Way Church?
Yep, sure did. Here's the thing, and if I may be, I don't know if they heard, I did answer your question on the coming election. I will be prophetic, if you want to call it that. There's going to be an upsurge in December of the economy, and it's going to look like to most that it's been fixed, and it will not be fixed. It will never get fixed until we fix the problem back where it started, and that's in the church. We can't let, according to, like Butch Paul says, we can't let limp-wristed pastors run from the truth, not tell the truth, go along with an oppressive approach by whomever's doing it, and not stand up for the people and for rights and for the Bible. And since we backed off of that in the church house, we end up with a shallow, empty religiosity. And like you said, you haven't been in 40 years, because that's pretty much a lot of what's out there. And the real thing is like we did Sunday morning. I didn't preach. I led a teaching session where people took part in it. And, you know, everybody has a mind to stand there and lecture people or stand up and say you're the only one that gets it, to me is ludicrous. But that's where we've gotten, and we got all the stained glass and the money flowing and keeping the pews all covered with velvet, and nobody's getting any help.
The Timothy Bible College, and I also want to talk about the Little Red Schoolhouse. Now, I've got a contract or a deal, you know, a handshake, to you know, help somebody, some people with their books and some of their promotions, and I'd like to be working with you doing marketing, because I've had the Way Church up and up on the Free American site for a long time. I was almost to the point of closing it down, a little depressed, making a move, and trying to deal with all of the manifestations or all of the repercussions of making moves, and you know, really trying to put life, business, and money in our pockets. You know, we've got some really worthwhile things to talk about, and the message that we're trying to get out, it's really a positive message. We got ways. We've got you know, I'm reading a book right now and helping edit a little bit on a book on the whole salvage industry, and this is something that could happen in every town in America, every county in America, especially the rural areas where we've got so much really quality construction that's just falling apart out in the pastures. And you've seen a lot of that, haven't you?
Well, and it isn't that part of the bigger picture that you and I envision, in that we're trying to salvage an America that at one time did work, and this helps take it back there to get back a little more scaled down and a little more community oriented.
Yes. It's we need more of a sense of community, and to me that was the role the churches played. You know, the even the Chautauquas. I mentioned the Chautauquas. Do you remember hearing about those? That was that was a road ministry, I guess. They brought all kinds of entertainment and things like that, and that's the advantage of the whole salvage plan. It's almost like a lifestyle, and it's kind of interesting that salvage and salvation.
Amen. Same root.
Yep.
God's been trying to salvage his people since we ran amok back in the garden.
Well, this is our garden planet, isn't it? And you know, yeah. I'm really been advocating, based on a lot of the research that I've been doing, which may manifest itself in an article later. It's this. We've got so much of value that we made last century. I mean, things were made different. The windows, the glass, the doors, the woodwork, even the wood itself is made different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's, you know, if you cut down a tree that's been growing for 300 years, you know, you get pretty strong wood. You know, if you cut one down,
Yeah.
it's been growing there for 60 years and fed hormones and fed fertilizer and fed insect killer. Guess what? That wood just ain't quite the same, is it?
Well, I'm building a deck on my place over here, actually on the college building, the / church building, and I have to be real careful. If I don't treat the wood properly, this newly bought wood, it twists and turns and bends and will not lay flat. Even with screws tied down to joists, it'll pull the screws up or pull through the screws. It's just cut too green, and like you said, they're mistreating the wood, trying to get it to grow fast and not letting it do what it should have done like they did years ago. That's why, you know, the guy we're working with is a proponent of that the older wood used 100 years ago, but, you know, is just better stuff.
It is interesting. You should try to drive a nail in some of that old wood.
But, you know, you had mentioned the Little Red Schoolhouse.
Yes.
You and I have been trying to, and I hate to use the word promote because we're not really trying to promote anything. We're trying to re-educate a people that have either been lied to, misled, or denied what I believe to be the truth. And it's not just Bible, but it's the true meaning and way of everything. It's just like putting in the textbooks nowadays that slavery was why we had the Civil War, which we both know is a lie. It was fought over states' rights. And if we're not careful, we're going to have another one.
I haven't been watching the news or anything. I haven't heard anything about, and very little on the email. The email has been actually pretty lean about the whole Federal Reserve audit. Are they doing anything about the banksters, which I believe is part of the problem? You know,
Well, it is.
church, IRS control of the churches, so we can't talk about who we should have for president. And
Well, you know, it's like the gag order or whatever you want to call it, hiding the records on that shindig down in South America or whatever. All the cover-ups that we've had in the last few years, last recent decades. The people who are breaking the rules, breaking the law, and they really are, don't want to be found out because the general public really would like everybody to play by the rules. We're asked to, and it would be nice if the leadership did. But that doesn't seem the way that it always goes. I believe, you know, Ron Paul, I think, fostered that viewing of the Federal Reserve up close, didn't he?
and pretty well destroyed his chances for being president, didn't it?
Well, I think that's what got John F. Kennedy killed.
Yes.
You put it in the magazine years ago that he had not only done that, but he had signed some other things that never came to fruition because they got him out of the way before they had to deal with it. He was actually beginning to get it and change into a pretty good president, and some people didn't want that.
No, scares them to death. Scares them to death.
Yeah, and that's why you and I have some trouble once in a while. The truth does not offend the guy out there who's trying to make a living and trying to raise a family and that sort of thing. The only ones that offends is the people who are causing the oppression because they want to keep control. And I don't think they're going to have it very long, frankly. I'm seeing, you and I are hope promoters, and I see a hope, not in the economy, not in the politics, but that the American people are beginning to wake up a little bit, and if they do, government hadn't got a chance.
Now there's still people on all sides. You know, David. You know, the people are out there that are trying to do something. Sheriff Richard Mack has organized some of the sheriffs. I mean, we're not talking anti-government here. You know, this is the name calling, and this has affected us a lot. I'd like to discuss that because
what?
I'd like to discuss this. I mean the name calling. This is I keep telling people this is divide and conquer. And it's even possible, I've got people that I respect that have pointed out that I may have contributed to that in some aspect by allowing open discussions.
Well, let me do the sheriff thing real quickly, and I teach this, and all of our schools teach this, that the greatest, the most powerful local power politically is the sheriff. Now, you won't see that taught in public school, but that is constitutionally a fact. And if the local sheriffs get together and realize that they need to hang on to that power and protect their own local people, we're headed the right direction.
I hope so. It's, you know, divide and conquer. Again, that's what they... I got a little bit of hope. From the tea parties when those were forming. I thought we'd you know, somebody that had read the Free American, somebody was starting to wake up. They were starting to wake up.
Yeah.
And
can I address that?
Yes. Please.
Here's the problem, and I'm speaking as an authority, but I absolutely know I'm right because I've got the whole history of the Bible, I've got the political history of this world to prove this. But here's the problem with the Tea Party. It's the same thing that happened to the church in this country, is that eventually, if you are not careful, if you do not protect the integrity of your operation, it will go the route that all of those who have fallen into the cesspool go. And that is the danger of the Tea Party, is they're beginning to look too political and not grassroots, not what they began to be. The Tea Party was based on throwing tea in Boston Bay. And that meant we're not going to have this taxation without representation. If you fall into the political realm, then, well, wait a minute, we're not going to get as far as we want to go if we don't start doing the dance. That's the danger. It's what's happened to all the churches. John Wesley founded the Methodist Church, and it was pure as the driven snow. It's changed. John Calvin, I use his commentary. Rarely do I find anything to argue with. He's right on. Presbyterian church founder. It's not the same. And you go back to the Lutheran Church. Martin Luther hung 95 things on the front door of the church he was going to and said, we need to get back to the Bible and back to God, and the Pope is not God. And they put out a contract on him to kill him. We have very good beginnings, and a lot of politics have gotten into the church and changed it to the point that it's back to what we tried to get away from, or the English tried to get away from, coming over here from England, and that is a church controlled by the government.
It's a very difficult thing to overcome, because certainly if you're trying to tell people that this is not the government that we were contracted for.
Amen.
You know, this is a communist forum.
Gave them permission to govern us. Gave them permission to govern us. People don't see that, but we gave them permission to be a governing body.
Supposed to work for the people, but the big money, and our founding fathers. I mean, political science. Our founding fathers knew this, and Thomas Jefferson told us, if you ever allow a private bank to issue your money, The banks and the corporations that spring up around them will leave your children homeless in the land that we've conquered. And
Mr. Political Science Director, why is that not taught to our people?
Because the banks bought rooters. We're not even tossing out religions or names here, but the banks bought rooters. They bought ABC. They bought all of these places. They bought all of the news media. They own Mitt Romney. They own Clear Channel. They own Rush Limbaugh. And I'm a dangerous, right-wing, racist, radical, anti-Semite? Because I've told you that?
Well,
and that's what they do. That's what they do. That's what they, I mean. What's that?
They're not listening to their programs. I do, and they throw out the same kind of slurs, but it, like you said, it is guided by a different guider.
For you folks in the chat room that don't know, I just restarted the program after taking a brief hiatus, dangling my feet in the river, you know, running through the sand here, seeing what real life feels like for a few days. But
well, everybody's got to get out of Dodge once in a while, especially if they're going to try to lead.
Well, you know, it's like even surfacing. You know, there's a question there. Why do I need to expose myself to the public? Because I'm sorry, folks, I think there's a job that needs to be done. I think I'm doing that job. I'm trying to give you the information you need about all of this. And, you know, it's real. We're talking about something that's real.
Somebody has to be a true balance. Somebody has to say, wait a minute, here's the other side of the story.
Well, and to do that, we got to hear from all sides. If you just hear from one side, you know, I don't think you get the balance. I don't think you get the whole story. And that's what I've always tried to do. You know, I look, you know, I'm a reporter. I go places where the story is. I go places to find out what's really happening here, what's really going on. I want to see it. I want to touch it. I want to feel it with my own hands. You know, kind of the problem I've had with the church. You know, very few people in the mainstream churches want to come up and shake my hands.
Well, they did Sunday, didn't they?
They did. They did. I attracted the youngest there.
Right.
It helps when you carry a couple of Harley riding Chihuahuas along. But this whole demonization. This is we're going to be coming up on the second half here. This whole demonization is one of the things that I experience, and you know, I'd like to. Didn't Jesus tell us that if you were speaking in His name, and I think everything I've said is what Jesus would have said to you if He was here. I'm not urging anybody to take up arms against anybody. Don't want to kill nobody. Don't care. You know, if you don't want to follow the true Christian religion, you know, you want to go bang your head against that wailing wall, you want to stick your nose in the sand, hey, no problem. Go do it. Go do it. I'll watch. You know?
Right.
I'll watch.
I won't join you.
Won't join you. Won't join you. Ain't going to beat my head against the wall.
Amen.
And I don't think
you know,
we are. I think.
Problem.
Go ahead.
Here's the problem. Jesus ran into the same thing. They They hung Peter upside down on a cross. They boiled John, who was a disciple. They stoned Paul. Stephen, his first dissertation, they didn't like it very well, so they killed him with rocks. I mean, it's